pedophiles. They have a pretty notorious reputation. But what's going on here? These cursed souls want nothing more than to engage with the youth. And not in a positive way, in a pretty freaky way, mind you. Why pedophiles are bad. Fully grown, mature adults are more attractive than adolescents. This means that their attraction to children is probably some sort of messed up power dynamic to feel true control and to inflict pain. There are 3 types of predators that I have identified in my years of research. The first is your everyday, common predator, found amongst the everyday people, your local community, that one disturbed fella, you know, that just lets it all loose. It's hard to know how many of these guys really exist, but you can be sure that they're out there lurking for some primo. These youth seekers are not only located amongst your local community, but also the highest echelons of our political and financial institutions. Unfortunately for hardworking Americans, it appears that a lot of them seem to be concentrated up there. A disturbing amount, truly. Even Stephen Hawking was on the Epstein list. His ass can't even walk and he's still jonesing for some fresh. I mean, that's just so ridiculous. Honestly, it's kind of inspiring. I guess it shows you if there's a wheel, there's a way. But yeah, rich people seem to really like kids. Let's get a word from my sponsors.
You know when that CBD be hitting? You start acting foolish. You ever tried these 5 gummies? Have you moving different? The reason they're like that is because they got the ingredients in them. You wanna chill? They got you. You wanna vibe? They got you. You wanna get lit? You know they got you. They got all different types of consolidations. You know, you ain't always gonna find something like this. It's legal, third-party tested, made with all natural ingredients, ships right to you. You can feel safe, you could travel with them. These hoes will have you safely and legally zooted at a good price.
Click the link below to get a free $50 jar of 5 gummies. I repeat, a free $50 jar of 5 gummies. All you pay is shipping. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply. Thank you, 5, for sponsoring this video. However, there is now another emerging group of individuals where the rates of child chasers are alarmingly high. Online content creators, influencers, YouTubers, streamers, they are just getting exposed one after the other. By the time this video comes out, there's probably going to be another one. Shame on you, Anthony Fantano. Unlike traditional celebrities or elite, it's unlikely that there is a larger conspiracy going on here. It's not part of some blackmail. They're not going to the Illuminati. They're not getting into the Bohemian Grove. These guys are just doing it for the love of the game. You would think by now, with the amount of people getting exposed, the decades of precedent we have now with To Catch a Predator, and now all these people constantly getting video essays made about them, you'd think maybe these people would stop and say, hey, maybe this isn't the best idea. Maybe I should just wait it out, or alternatively just not. I mean, even if they really like the idea of a 17-year-old, their protective mechanisms should stop them from pursuing, but that doesn't happen. They keep on gunning for youngins. I mean, at this point, I don't care if she looks like prime Adriana Lima and she turns 18 in a week and she's messaging me really being flirty. I'm gonna start to do the cost benefit analysis, and I'm gonna go, hey, it's not worth it. You would think these guys would think the same thing, but they don't. And after looking at all of these cases especially recently, of these online predators, I have started to notice some very sinister connections that I wanted to share with you today. Welcome to an examination of online figures that can't seem to abstain from grooming minors in what is the most oversaturated topic on the internet right now. And this idea is very uninspired, but I'm going to try to tackle it in a unique way and make it funny and informative. But I don't know, be sure to like, subscribe, and send me hot pictures if you're over 18 only, please. And play this video in multiple tabs on 0.25 speed to boost my retention analytics. If you're a young person out there, be safe because they be lurking. I'll probably have to think of a better title later. I'm going to go ahead and go over some of the more prominent cases in order to establish these connections that will allow us to determine why is it so hard not to like minors as an online figure. Eat dat pussy 445. What's to be said about him? He was a scholar. He was a statesman. He tried to meet up with what he thought was a 13-year-old girl.
Out here to pick up a cupcake.
Not once, but multiple times. He didn't learn. He kept his eyes on the prize. That's one thing you could say about it. And in this case, the chat logs with the 13-year-old girl are very wild and perturbing. He sends a picture of his dookie. He took an absolute growler, turned around, snapped a picture of it, and sent it over with the caption, "Just took a mean-ass shit." But hey man, come on, if sending a picture of your dookie to a minor is illegal, you may as well throw me in the gulag, you know what I'm saying? What we can glean about EDP from his videos is that he lived in Bakersfield, California, which is a shithole, and he worked mostly blue-collar, service-type jobs. He seemed like a pretty lonely guy.
Bro, I live a very lonely fucking life, man. Nobody wants to like ever talk to me, like they're always just busy doing shit.
But if you recall correctly, EDP first blew up off of a single video which became a little bit meme-ified, in which he said, quote, "I beat the out of my so god hard that I can't feel my left leg." Assuming he was telling the truth, then he must have been whacking off with an almost inhuman amount of velocity and strength. You know, in truth, I would say a good portion of his content was about beating off. He had a comprehensive ranking of stars.
Would you guys consider jacking off to be a sport? I'm gonna jack off so motherfucking hard tonight. I'm gonna stroke my mother. I'm gonna take it up in my ass. I really haven't slept in about like 2.5, maybe 3 fucking days, and the only thing I've really been doing was jacking off.
Chris Tyson of Mr. Beast fame has come under a lot of scrutiny recently. The latest development, over 500,000 leaked messages came out from a Discord server Chris was on. A lot of these don't look too good. 500,000. And a good chunk of those are being sexually inappropriate towards adolescents. At that point, you might as well be the Mr. Beast of pedophilia. Woo, unzips pants, nuzzles, ween. That's pretty funny if you're not talking to a kid. The NSFW channel from this Discord was never leaked, but we do have good evidence that he put his nude pictures on there. All of these kids are in the server. Chris was generally very into lolly. He enjoyed touching his Peter to this quality of media. Which brings us to the question, what is a lolly? Well, to answer this question, you have to take it over to a little island in the east called Japan. And over here in this island, there's people there. There's people there. Lots of good people. Good cars. They make good cars. Lots of good art. Anime. I love anime. But let's just keep it real. There's some freaky fucks. You know, they came up with some very cool stuff, with some strange stuff as well, and then the white boys got a hold of it, and now we're cooked. We could, the Caucasoid mind wasn't built to handle it, and now they're watching this stuff, and yeah, there's no recovery. By now, we all know about anime. We all know about animated pornography, which is hentai. What a lolly is it's one of these characters drawn in an erotic manner that's a child. Now, philosophers have been debating for generations the ethics of lolicon. A very good point brought up by Hume, I believe, is that a lot of these characters canonically are actually a lot older, although they are illustrated to be 10 years old, let's say. They're like vampires that within the lore of the universe are like 800. These are actual discussions that are happening on the internet now. And, you know, if I'm going to weigh in personally, when people start to bring in the lore in order to defend beating off to erotic cartoons of children, you begin to understand that this is the end, right? There's no coming back from this. We have too many excess young men. And all throughout history, these type of guys would have gone to war and died. And I'm beginning to think that's a good thing. These type of guys, there's too many of them. They need to be in the front lines. They need to kill and be killed. Back to Chris Tyson, very into lolly. He couldn't get enough of it. There was this one artist in particular he enjoyed. I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to give any attention in that direction. But Chris constantly tweeted at him, pulled it up on stream on accident. He had a picture of this guy's art in his room, just like plastered on the wall. It's in a Mr. Beast video. Chris admitted to refreshing this artist's page daily. He linked it in the Discord I was talking about. So suffice it to say, another high-ranking member of the Beater Brigade. Maybe you're beginning to notice a bit of a pattern here. Next up is Yandere Dev, also known as Alex Mahan. He developed a game called Yandere, I don't know how you say it, Yandere Simulator, where basically you play as a Japanese schoolgirl. Remember what I said. And you run around, you start killing a bunch of bitches. And then a part of the plot in the game, apparently, is you get down and you take pictures of these girls' skirts. So, yeah, take that into consideration, and then look at the way his face is, the way he looks, and sometimes you know, what comes out about a person isn't so surprising. And with this guy, there's a lot of weird, there's like a whole ass saga with this dude. If you go back to forums he was on as a teenager, he identifies himself as an agoraphobic incel. He was homeschooled in middle school. He started homeschooling. And since then, he basically didn't leave the house and just watched anime, played video games, and gooned all day. He filled this void of social isolation with media. A lot of his early forum posts certify his position as a confirmed gooner. More recently, in his adult life, he has been caught trying to solicit nudes from underage girls over the internet. You'll see later that this guy is like the pinnacle of all the connections I draw in this video. Some of his messages are pretty funny too. He's talking to this 16-year-old girl over Snapchat going, "You're emotionally abusing me. You have this huge blackmail over me," and she goes, "You're 35. I see he was trying to pull off some gaslighting, some manipulation, but this is some real amateur work. Total amateur hour. That's why he was trying to go for minors, because maybe they're a little bit more gullible. Up your game, homie." Colleen Ballinger, aka Miranda Sings. There's a lot here, from sending panty pics and actual pornography to minors. There are all these group chats where she's talking with kids and they're having an innocent conversation, and then out of nowhere she just drops some weird sexual shit, and a lot of suspicious things went on at her live shows. Some of these pictures from the live show are just twisted. I don't even know if I could show them. She also had a very strange vernacular. She would just refer to certain verbs as which is strange. And also she would use as an adjective, kind of to replace like sick or cool. You go like, "That's Jikishi." I just chose like one Minecraft person. If you look at any of them, there's like a 15% chance they have grooming allegations. It's actually insane. They can't stop. You know, they really like mining. They're mining for minors. Hunger Games, I wanna win, I win it all. I wanna win it all day. I'm not teaming, I like my girls underage. But yeah, Jikishi, he's a self-proclaimed cat boy, a self-proclaimed weeb. And right when his career was starting, he got accepted into like the Dream SMP. And then 40 people came out in 1 week saying he was grooming them. Those are some good numbers. You know, it was happening over Discord. He was asking for nudes and stuff from kids. That's a CP charge. That's not good. Yeah, I'm done. I have other examples, but I'm done talking about them. I want to move on with this video. There's so many online figures. They just can't stop. But let me get to the point. Generally, these types follow some pretty specific patterns. The first thing has to do with the types of personalities the internet might implicitly attract. The types of people who would think of trying to be internet famous. By looking at this sample group, we may be selecting for types of people who are more likely to have narcissistic or antisocial personality traits. And looking back at some of these people I talked about, or other examples, sometimes you could just tell they have a little bit of a screw loose from the get. And they may feel a little bit empty or immune to consequences. The second connection, the second thing I'm seeing a lot of is isolation. So these people who are able to find a career on the internet become chronically online because their whole life now becomes the internet. Depending on what type of content they make, some people avoid this. They make videos where they do things outside and they make it social. This isn't the case with a lot of gaming YouTubers and stuff where there's a higher quantity of these type of allegations. So these people, they spend all their time on the internet. They're quite lonely. They're isolated. They don't have a normal workplace, which would be their second place. And now a lot of people in general don't have a third place. And then a lot of their social interaction becomes this online social interaction. So what you see with a lot of these cases are these weird-ass online relationships over Discord, over Snapchat, strange parasocial things going on. They're not going out to the park with a van and some candy like the good old days, back when men were men, back when this country was great. And look, I won't take a stand against like all online relationships. Maybe some good connections, some life-changing things happen from long-distance internet relationships, but I'm quite skeptical of them. I don't think that people well-connected in real-life community with social circles resort to these sort of modes of communication. The third and final connection, the big boy, the sleeper, you probably knew it was coming, gooning and pornography addiction. This is the one. This is the main thing I wanted to talk about. When it comes to all these cases, it's easily observable. We have like direct proof of all these online figures having a bad habit. The evidence is there, so how do we explain this connection? Well, the truth is that these three variables I just talked about are also correlated themselves. Isolation, narcissism, antisocial personality traits, and addiction. So there's a bit of a chicken or the egg situation going on here. Is it that people who are already messed up in the head will be more likely to consume a lot of this stuff? Or is it that pornography itself had a hand in creating this sort of behavior? That's a hard question. Psychology is a soft science. We don't know everything about the brain, how it all works, and you know, that's a big one. It's like nature or nurture. There are smart people who make points on both sides, but I'm going to take a reasonable sort of compatibilist approach and say that from the get-go, some people will be more or less predisposed to this type of sussy behavior, but exposure to pornography over long horizons of time, especially if it starts in adolescence when a lot of people start watching this stuff, can fully manifest or grow sexual pathology, at which point the gooner now becomes a groomer. You can feel free to disagree. I'm trying to make a different video, take a stance here. You can go watch one of the other hundreds of copy-paste drama channels if you don't like it. But I mean, I'll debate people on this. I believe there's ample evidence for such a conclusion. It's very well empirically documented, the type of escalation that online sexual content offers, because it brings endless novelty and it's so easily accessible. Clinical experience and now research evidence are accumulating to suggest that the internet is not simply drawing attention to those with existing pedophilic interests, but is contributing to the crystallization of those interests in people with no explicit prior sexual interest in children. Huh. Well, smack me on the ass and send me on a private jet up to Epstein's Island. Would you look at that? There's also a pretty famous interview from one Ted Bundy that I would like to point you to.
I've lived in prison for a long time now, and I've met a lot of men who were motivated to commit violence just like me. And without exception, every one of them was deeply involved in pornography, without question, without exception, deeply influenced and consumed by an addiction to pornography. There's no question about it. The FBI's own study on serial homicide shows that the most common interest among serial killers is pornography.
Now, there are different opinions on this interview. You could say he was just trying to delay his death sentence, but this was like right before he got zapped. I don't know if they already got his ass. I don't know if he was under any illusions that he could escape his fate at that point. But also, he's not a very trustworthy guy, you know what I mean? But on the other hand, he kind of does have a lot of authority in a fucked up way on this particular topic. He actually really is the Mr. Beast of. So I don't know, instead of a bunch of goofy fake psychologists in the comment sections, maybe we could settle this by checking his claims regarding the FBI study and by consulting the doctor who actually gave him the interview. Oh, it's real. It's all real. It's real, man. So what do you learn from this? If you're a kid or if you're a parent, you should look out for these things. Obviously, narcissism, psychopathic personality traits, people who are isolated without community, and people who seem to have an interest in pornography. If you don't look at that and your alarm bells don't go off, your system is not properly calibrated. It's highly suspicious behavior. And this is well documented. I got suspicious of Drake before the beef. I got suspicious when he posted hentai on his public Instagram story. That's weird. But if I'm going to say something else, it's also important to understand that in another universe, you could maybe be one of these people. Basically, you have to have the self-awareness to understand that you are capable of such evil. And the people who lack this kind of self-awareness, no, I would never do that. That's like just other people. These are the types that you actually have to be scared of because they're not able to actually look at their shadow. Even if in truth you're the type of person who would never do the things these people did, you still want to be self-aware about it. Because in general, if you look at all these cases, these people's situations are not enviable. So you want to avoid that. You want to avoid these three things. When it comes to narcissistic personality traits, my opinion is that if you're able to be aware of something in your mind, it implies some sort of authority to change it. Otherwise, our life is just a hell, and consciousness is a misstep in evolution where we witness all of these terrible character defects and have no power to change. Second thing, I know a lot of kids want to be YouTubers and stuff, but you look at a lot of these people, they're miserable and they do all this shit. The internet should never become your life. It should not be a big part of your life. It should definitely not be your whole life. It needs to be handled with a lot of care. Our brains are not prepared for a lot of it. You need to have firm roots in the real world. And if you're able to use the internet in a social way, in a way that's not dysgenic, you have to think about that a lot. If you plan to do this, it's a tightrope to walk. And finally, never goon. It's not a good idea. It's not healthy. Don't listen to anyone telling you otherwise. I will debate anybody. Go fuck yourself. Oh wait, you already do. That's why you're coping. Everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. Peace out.